I've done it. I got 62 points in the lottery. And I'll explain how using my jump bag, first aid or appliance. Right, got my post-it notes. Preparing food. So, how do I prepare food? Well, I get mummy's credit card. I walk up to the nice gentleman over there. I give him 20 quid. And then I place food onto a plate. Like this. Which is already pre-cooked for me because I don't have anywhere to cook and I can't cook, so therefore I cannot cook. So, descriptor F applies. Cannot prepare and cook food. That's today. Right. Taking nutrition. Well, I need to take lots of water. And I need electrolytes and a shaker to take all of my supplements. I also put a reminder on my phone for lunchtime and in my work calendar, because one of the symptoms is, well, I don't have a watch, so I'm never quite sure of the time. That is a symptom. Which basically means I think B and D, descriptors B and D apply, aid or appliance and prompting. The innovation there would be to say that you don't need a person to prompt you, actually being buzzed on a watch or on your phone or in your calendar or asking a work colleague or anyone else. You don't need a trained professional to go, lunchtime. Right, what's the next one? I've got 1, 2, that's, managing therapy and medication. This is where we get the bag out. Ooh. Didn't close the jar. I always do that. Oh no, we've got a collapse. You can't see. Let's give it a little bit of room. Let's move the food out of the way. That one I'll save for later. Oh, here it is. So I'm missing my spacer. There should be a salbutamol here too. Oh, there's the eye drops. Oh, I've lost the inhaler. Let me just check. That's classic. So first of all, I have 2 of everything. 2 sets of medication, because I tend to lose it. So we're going to do today's peak flow. At 600, that's good. But normally it's 650 after salbutamol, and it can go as low as 550. Right. Let's do the anti-allergens. That one has a kick properly. So that's a mixture of antihistamines and steroids. This one I'm not going to take now. Sildenafil, because I'm waiting for a private delivery of tadalafil, which is to combat this medication, fluoxetine or Prozac, which basically Makes it very hard to not be hard. Or to be hard. It makes it hard to be hard. Verbal aphasia. Oh. Oh. And in here, this is special. It's 572 Tri. I place it in here. And basically, if I'm out, I always have the most precious medication with me. So that's most of the daily drugs today. I need to do it. I'll do it here upstairs actually, so okay. And I would have a space for that. That doesn't count, that spacer. But I said I need an aid or appliance because I need to store it all in one place. I've also said an aid or appliance could be a house or a medicine cabinet, or it could be anywhere to put all of that, so that I will get 6 months of that in one go. And I've also called this an aid or appliance. And then for therapy, I put B applies, which is 2 points, but actually I think E applies, because I reckon I probably spend like, well, if I follow the clinical guidelines, I'm meant to do like an hour's exercise every day. And I would argue that does need to be under the supervision of someone, and I've taken a course so I can supervise myself, which is the point of being personally independent. And then I probably spend forever because I've got to do physio, I've got to do counselling, EMDR, I've got to go to the GP, which I see every couple of weeks. Like, I've got my flu jabs coming up, I've got to go and get some more blood tests, I've got a different thing, I need to go by urology. Blah, 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 blah. It's a bit hard to be specific, so I just put 7 to 14 hours. Right, and that's number 3. What's number 4? Washing or bathing. Now, for a complete and fully prepared clean, I have one of these. Which is to ensure that I minimise the risk of the transference of a pile of shite. And I often need someone to confirm that it is to their specification. So I've applied descriptors B and C. I've also put, when I was homeless, I had to use this all over my body. The reason being is that I was aware I wouldn't have my own bed, which increased the risk of lice and bed bugs. And by shaving and removing all bodily hair, I reduced the risk of, 1, any form of lice on my body, and 2, passing it on. So it was a, act of care and caring. So how many points is that? I don't know. Next one. 5. Managing toilet needs. So I sit down because I've got excessive foreskin, but I also use this. Which is a medication to basically arrest diarrhea, because the side effect of this can be changes in bowel movement. But also sometimes when I do that, I just take this, Because some of those gay boys go for a long time. Oh, if you're pumping air into something. Ooh. So I put aid or appliance. 2 points. Dressing. Now, a rather novel thing I discovered, and I used some Victoria's Secret pants. Here you go, as an example. I'm really bad at putting things on back to front and forward to back and inside out. But, can you see this label? If the label is behind me, I know I've put it on correctly, and if it's pointing like on the inside, so I check in the mirror, and as long as I put that on correctly, and that applies to Decathlon clothes too, they've got really big labels. And if that little tail's in the right place. I also like to use poppers, because buttons are really hard for me to do up. I get really angry. And I've also put one of the side effects when you're not on fluoxetine or Prozac is you don't want to wake up in the morning because you don't think life is worth it. So I put down prompting or supervision, not just an aid or appliance, because it's, you know, the rules are written like basically you're in a wheelchair, but actually if your disability is in your mind and it can be chemically changed and you need to be reminded to take this and you have lots of medication, I'm going to try and say B and C. 7, communicating verbally. So one of the symptoms is interrupting people. And it's not speech therapy you need. It's actually, if I was a child in SEN, I would get social skills training, but I've never had that. And obviously interrupting people all the time can be really rude. And so even someone who isn't trained may provide, if they're aware and done their research, might use techniques learned through things like mental health training to provide communication support. And every workplace, as far as I'm aware, has mental health first aiders. Reading. I don't open letters. I really don't. I don't understand the point. And if I do open it, I don't read it. I read everything on my phone. And then you can click on reader and it will change the background to black, and then you can put it into a bigger font if it's really hard to read. You can also export it, highlight it, copy it, paste it, move it. So in terms of reading and understanding the information, I say I use an aid or appliance, descriptor B. 9, we'll take last night as an example. I put overwhelming psychological distress. Got some trees coming up. And the reason I put that is I had a panic attack. I just had to walk out, go straight home. Why? I don't really know why, it doesn't really matter. But I just went straight home. I needed to book a taxi. I used orientation aid to find the correct bus. I wasn't sure where I was. I couldn't concentrate on getting home, I was too distressed. I then went to the bathroom and cried because for about a year, the only thing I've been talking to about people is this stuff and how much expensive everything is. So I just felt like I was asking for too much. And lots of other things that need therapy. 10, making budgeting decisions. I'm not in control of my finances. Basically, I'm a financial practitioner and a court who decide everything for me. So I don't have financial freedom at all. So someone else actually has been setting my budget for about 3 years, which I'm now challenging because they couldn't make budgeting decisions either. And as for how I make budgeting decisions, I prefer to use online shopping. Why? It totals it up for you. I once did a Tesco shop with an iPad as a calculator. But the other tactic I can use if I don't have a calculator and I can't do an online shop is just put it all in a trolley and engage self-checkout. And I open the banking app, see how much money I've got, and I go, okay, I can go up to that amount. And then anything I can't have, I just lay aside, because it's not about, when I budget, I'm given a very fixed and set amount. So it's not about needs at all, it's about where is your glass ceiling for spending. So you have to kind of accept, so I just accept I can't have everything I need or want or could do. So I just have to spend until I reach a limit. Right, now we're moving on to the mobility component. Planning and following journeys. Now Sadiq Khan's Santander cycles aren't good enough for me. I need headphones, a phone holder on the bike, something that speaks to me with the directions and provides me with a route. So I count Google Maps, headphones, and a phone holder as an aid, an orientation aid. I also thought about having a comfort animal. I need to, have a dog to help me make a journey. It can also stop me from like just going. 2, how far can I move without an aid or appliance? Actually, I'm not going to do that because it's going to put dead skin cells everywhere. I cannot move first without pedicuring. Could you see that? There's a little bit of white dust. That is the dead skin from 5 seconds this morning of using a pedicure before I came downstairs. These are to prevent the oozing from a blister of my foot, which has been unrepaired for about 2 weeks. I'm required to do this to prevent further injury because I don't have another means of transport and I cannot sit in a room all day. So these are counted as aid or appliances that I do before I move from my bedroom. But in effect, I shouldn't move anywhere until I've got the proper treatment. They've also said that shoes, because it's not about the distance really, it's about safely, completely, fully, and to your complete ability being able to move. So I put maximum points. Why? Because to be able to move, I actually need the right shoes. So I've ordered some running shoes so I can run, which prevents injury to my knees, and I need physio, and I need to remove the dead skin. I need to treat injury. I also use cream. This is hand cream. I got it from Tesco this morning. I've got the power. Half price, cherry blossom. But the reason I use the cream is to soften the skin. It's because it's not about corns or anything like that. It's literally like, there is no pedicure good enough in this world to remove the amount of dead skin from my feet. And I've also got some alcohol as well. This is hand gel, but I use it to wipe down any injuries. A few more bits I've got in here. Aloe vera lube, Ada appliance. Right, this one you need to put below your waist. Obviously, because I've just waited to get another blood test, I need a pair of gloves with me at all times, just in case I get cut, hurt or injured, and I need help healing. This represents all the supplements I take. This is basically when I can't afford to eat, I'll have yogurt. So I carry this around with me. Ada appliance, which I've lost the spoon for, but the knife is upstairs. I cannot go anywhere without headphones because I need to desensitize my environment. At the moment, this is my toothbrush, but actually my dentist has said I need an electronic sonic toothbrush, which is the best one. She's got an IO8 or IO6, and that's about £200. And that one, it actually tells you about how you're brushing your teeth. And having stuff like that prevents thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of dental work being required. Got some self-tan drops, but I don't think I could really squeeze that in. I think we could say anyone with depression requires a vitamin D supplement in the winter, because I do have seasonal affective disorder. 90 or 84% of people with ADHD have genetic differences which affect their circadian rhythm, which basically means as the days in the northern hemisphere, or far north and far south, get shorter and shorter and shorter, it gets harder to stay awake or wake up. Which is why I've got a different type of methylphenidate that I take around 3 or 4 p.m. And I took all my medications all at once, but normally I'll do it separately. So I'll do like these 2 plus fluoxetine in the morning. Then I'll do all of the like allergy stuff at the gym. This as and when it's required. This I might sometimes take out of sync. But what's really important about this, and the world over, from Lesotho to Malawi to Zimbabwe to LA to Moscow, anywhere where this is, the WHO and UNAIDS guidance is the same, which is to always have a prompt to remind you where to take your medication. That's the gold standard worldwide. The reason being is that with any form of antiretroviral therapy or triple therapy, or whether it's 1 pill, 3 pills, 4 pills, whatever it is, it needs to be consistently taken every day. Full stop. And so, you know, there are girls in Africa who use their Nokia 3110s to text each other or set an alarm, and they've trained when the right time comes to take their medication. So whether you use an iPhone or Nokia 3110 or you text a friend, you don't need a healthcare professional to remind you to take your instructions. Anyone can. And in fact, the technology can. I even used to use Alexa, and she would turn down all the lights in the house, put it into sunset, and go, "Ben, it's that time of day. Time to dose up." Final adjustment, which I don't have. I've lost my house keys. So, in wallets, on house keys, any of those items that you tend to like take around with you a lot, I have tracking devices on them. So my house keys are currently in Euston. So obviously someone's handed it into the ticket hall there. So I'm gonna have to go to the bike shed. And also from all the weight exercise, I also have gloves to prevent injury, and I use hand cream to soften the skin. I was really shocked when I used this pedicure device in my hand. I was pulling off just as much dead skin. So I also have a pumice stone now, which is an aid or appliance. So some of these are really cheap, but the one thing that is actually really more important than all of it is this, and this cost about £1. You know, it's actually the mobility of being able to go anywhere with a little jump bag and have everything with you and have multiple copies. So, you know, in the ideal world, I'd have one set of stuff in my gym locker, I'd have one set on me in my jump bag, and one set at home. You know, like having a spare set of keys. All of this is my key to life. And living with the people that I should do. Which is an Article 8 thing, actually. You know, and actually memory, and basically I call neurodiversity random access memory, which basically means you're not quite really sure what gets stored, but somehow you have a really specific memory that will remember things that no one else can, but things like names, dates, time, remembering to do something, remembering to walk out the house with the keys, remembering to pick up a bag on the train, like you don't. And by keeping 3 sets or 2 sets in different locations, really prevents any harm. And my last adjustment actually is a babe. I call this a immediate dopamine soother. So I always have one of these on me. It is the healthiest way to soothe and aid my day. Now obviously it's got nicotine in, which I don't fully recommend, but you can get nicotine over the counter as a medication, as a cigarette, as a vape. And this one, it just gives me a little low dose, a release of dopamine, and actually that can improve everything from bodily coordination to communicating verbally through to having the confidence to get through your day. This and this and this and yoga and exercise, walk, nature are all as effective as each other, and they're all required in my routine. You know, actually having aided therapy is not that independent. It is the aids and appliances that make someone independent. And quite often it's the ableism that we see within the PIP regulations themselves that stop people from designing things. Like this, I would say, is not really great for disability because it's a bit, I'd blame this, and it's a bit slippy. Like I have a shark hoover, and like, you know, I'm a bit clumsy with my fingers, and I'm always switching it off when I don't want to. And wires and leads, I cannot bear, I get tangled in them. So everything needs to be wireless as much as possible. And actually, if you can imagine just being tangled in loads of wires all the time, that is like, you're literally and carrying around loads of cables. So, and that's really stressful. And if you've already spent 2 hours going through this, separating it and organising it, your stress levels are already quite high. And for instance, this doesn't take effect for about 45 minutes. So when I wake up every day, I don't have this. I'll probably start with this, to be honest with you. And I go and walk outside. I'll have done my pedi. And another thing is, I don't brush my teeth 50% of the time. So I put down any prompting and assistance to do my teeth. Now, unfortunately, I think it would be ridiculous to have a 24-hour carer to simply sit there and go like, do this, do that, or the other. The most cost-effective solution is to use Alexa or Google or Siri or calendar reminder or visual aids or all of them. Because life won't always run to routine. You know, and I shouldn't have to expect to live like my nan on a rigid care schedule. She's got dementia, which is similar, a lot more advanced, but her schedule is set by when the carers show up. So I don't really work to a schedule, I just make it portable. And have just copies of it. And actually, I really want to talk about the medications. You know, as soon as I come off universal credit, which I'm hoping to at some point, I'll need, you know, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, then I've got off license 5, where are you? 6, the ED treatment 7, I couldn't even afford a plaster this year, 8, the salbutamol, then the tadalafil. That's 10 different medications, and the prescription charge is what, $9.65 per item. But do you know how much something like this actually costs? This has gone from like £900 to maybe like 300. This used to be $360 a month. This is probably like 20p. This you can actually get from Poundland for £1. This for £1. This doesn't cost that much. Like, I would be better being my own pharmacist. But you can get an NHS little certificate, and some of it comes from different places where I don't need to do stuff. And actually, I prefer to have it delivered to me. So like, this was an almighty nightmare to transfer pharmacies. It took like 2 days to basically go, can I please rearrange for the prescription to be sent somewhere else? And they won't give me 2 sets of this. And actually, is it secure in a hotel room? I know what those Bulgarian cleaners are like. They want some of this so that they can concentrate on their cleaning. Like, I'm joking, I love you. You know, like Lynette from Desperate Housewives. She got addicted to this. And this is really cheap as well, anti-allergy. But if I was like, didn't have the NHS certificate and I had 10 medications, that's $96.50. And actually an online pharmacy description or dispensary fee can be as little as £3. Literally, like the tadalafil, it's £32 for a month's medication. But the dispensary fee is £3 from Dr. Fox. But actually, it sounds stupid, I can achieve an erection for the first time in like 2 or 3 years, spontaneously, which sounds stupid. But imagine not being aroused. And imagine being told, oh, that's a urology problem. Now that is true. The way that tadalafil works is it's thought to relax the muscles in the prostate. So if you imagine someone who's quite anxious, is depressed, has a medication that basically prevents them from taking ED and they're a little bit uptight, actually a simple medication, a little yellow pill, 10 milligrams daily, relaxes the muscle. It doesn't give you erection, it actually relaxes the part of your body that's responsible for helping you pop the cork. And actually £31 a day isn't that much, but as part of like a £90 monthly subscription charge, £120, Do you know how much, I'm going to talk about it, do you know how much prescription fees actually generate? Not that much. Not that much. They're not worth charging for. I think it creates more of a nightmare having a team stuck in Liverpool checking all these things coming in. It costs more in transactions in the pharmacies, and basically all you're really paying for is the pharmacist himself, because the pharmacy will charge the NHS there's an agreed schedule of fees, but each pharmacy, if you like, has a different set of fees it charges in for stuff. So it says, I will provide this for £6, whatever, and that includes my dispensary fee, and then I will also collect the £9 dispensary fee. But actually, this Imodium could cost as little as £1. This Imodium costs like £5, by the way. Oh, and there's also fibre tablets that I like to take as well. But at the moment, I'm a Huel, which contains a good source of fibre, because this changes serotonin levels, and serotonin helps regulate the gut. And I learned that just by reading the patient information leaflets. Do you know what I mean? About 20 times over to make sure I'd read it all. And everyone seems to think that this one makes me high. Actually, this is much more dangerous. Because this is addictive as well. When I come off it, I will have come down symptoms. Why? It's not the drug that's addictive, it's the chemical in your brain. It is the dopamine in your brain and how you trigger it that is the addiction. Is this an addiction? I don't know. Where's the borderline? I have a condition which says I need this and this and this and this and that. But I also need to retrain the brain to not just want this, but have the diet and the nutrition and the activities and the work and the relationships and the independence to not do this. So this isn't a forever necessarily. This one certainly isn't forever, because eventually the brain will outpower this and it will have all the nutrition it needs. But take away food, take away supplements, take away the pills, take away any living, and you've gone back to square one. And this isn't a cure, this is a part of a care package. If you read the clinical guidelines for GAD, SAD, depression, ADHD, HIV, which are hundreds of pages long and compiled by national health bodies using and updated regularly using the latest medical evidence available, created by the doctors who actually treat patients themselves, submitted, reviewed, part of a global conversation on what works best. I'm sorry, this point scoring system just doesn't reflect the quality of dynamic, moving, changing, updated care. This, where is it, and this are infinitesimally small parts of my life, when it is your body and genetics that are different. It literally is every minute of every day. And if you've been walking on the planet for 34 years, completely unaware, and a decade trying to find out what it is, the answer isn't in a pill, I can tell you. That's an aid, but it is the sum. And that this isn't final. If that makes sense. Keyless entry is the next thing I need. So I don't need keys. And actually conveniently, I think a lot of people would like keyless entry. You can get a keyless entry on a car. Imagine keyless entry to your house, not even a fob. Imagine Apple being your key. Actually, Apple now take payments. So I would say, for a lot of disabled people, having an iPhone, being able to take money on the spot from people is the answer to poverty, or, you know, selling stuff or begging. So the ultimate adaptation overall is a phone. Basically, I have an app for everything, including for nutrition, including for exercise, including what exercises to do, calming, finance, budgeting, booking GP appointments, reminding me to take appointments. So I say, hang on a minute, I don't know how much this costs the NHS these days, but if this costs £960, branded, now I think it's probably about a third of the cost. But the phone is what runs it all. I think you do take the best and what works. And actually, I need a really big phone. Basically, a disabled person's phone is more like an iPad. I like one of those Samsung Galaxy things that fold out. Because what I found incredible is changing the text size and the button size and the high contrast and putting the orange screen on rather than the blue screen on. And those adjustments take seconds. I don't need to rebuild an entire house. I change the locks. I add a reminder, I install an ADHD app. I can seek group support on Facebook, Instagram, different specific apps. I can do CBT therapies through something called Wobot, developed by MIT. He's now charged, but he used to be plugged into Facebook Messenger, and if I was going for a panic or crisis, I literally went into Wobot and said, this is my problem. He goes, mate, I think you're fortune telling. What strategies can you get over your fortune telling? Or he'd go, I think what you're actually experiencing is worst case scenarios in your head. And in allied to having a therapist, I basically had an equivalent of Katie Brennan, who was my therapist, in my pocket at all times, who could deal with everything from, you know, not being able to get hard, to having difficulties talking to someone, through to having coping strategies when things feel overwhelming, through to organising a day. So I use Trello to track all my projects and tasks. Now, a lot of people do that. If I could change it, it would be more like my calendar. If I could change it, I would have a little meeting with myself. But getting updates on this, buying this, going to pharmacy, changing pharmacy, having little meetings with myself. You know, I say I need at least a day off work a week. Like I need to work 4, not 5, or maybe even 3 or part-time. And in fact, right now, I'm only just restarting this. I need to get an update on this. I need to do my asthma review and talk to Pete Flo. This I want more of. This I want more of. This needs to stop. This actually needs to go to a clinician to look at, but these have much bigger impact on my life. when it all collapses and you have to start again, it takes months. This takes, 8, 12, 14, 16 weeks to come back online again. This lasts 8 hours, sometimes less. This brand actually, I think only lasts 4. So I need to now go to my GP and say, the effects of this wear off by about midday, 1 o'clock. And the phone coordinates it all, literally. It is the ultimate adjustment. But it's running out of battery. It's about a year old now. That's not even that. I had to take it to Apple and get the battery looked at, because I need to carry a battery pack around with me. So I temporarily borrowed and then gave back a Primark battery charger. And do you know what? Having cables and chargers and wireless points that work and charge fast is incredible for me. Without my phone and without my headphones, I would not survive the day. Because the other thing I can put on is Pokemon, or games, or music, or film, or edit videos, or watch something, or even socially network. So I count Grindr as a social adjustment, or a communication tool, because I can talk to more people more quickly, more rapidly than I could in real life, and I can immediately filter out or filter to the people that I would like to meet or be like. Now I've got a few suggestions for Grindr, which is not just to list first, top, bottom, meet now. Take the Dutch model. So for lesbian, there's an equivalent app, or women who are bi, or women who want to meet other women. Like, funnily enough, your family and friend network is suddenly expanded. Because if you're 1 in 33, that's not to say that you can't make friends with other people. It just means certain things. I can go into Anne Summers, but it's not the same, is it, for a man or woman? And trust me, Anne Summers is definitely not the same as Fetish Freak. Never have I been on my knees within 30 seconds. Got a free jock start. True story. But it can even affect where you go on holiday. There are further consequences. This is not allowed in Japan, for instance. And actually there are about 250 or 180 different requirements for entering countries with this or with these medications. So in terms of travel, I am compiling a list. So I always need to carry a letter with me, which costs £18 minimum, up to £40, which needs to be regularly rewritten. So now, because they've changed the medication, and because this is in short supply, if the medication changes, I need a new letter every time from my doctor explaining it's being prescribed, so that when I enter places where this is banned, before they take it away, I can go, I'm legally prescribed this. And I should do that for all of my medications. And actually in some cases, some countries require for those documents to be re-signed and legally certified by legal authority. So effectively it needs to be sealed by a magistrate. And that costs £50, £60, £70 a document. Because it's, to be honest with you, it's unlikely that you will be stopped. But if you are traveling with something like this, you can be arrested in some countries. Traveling with this actually means I can't get visas in certain countries, or I shouldn't enter legally. Taking this sometimes means I can't get certain types of insurance. which, for instance, is payment protection. So I wanted to take out payment protection insurance about 5 or 6 years ago, because I'll be honest, I did recognise that my health was vulnerable, and to share the risk with other people and maintain an income, like making a national insurance payment, that would have been an adjustment that was worthwhile. But actually it's this mainly that people say, oh, you're going to die, so we're not going to insure you. Actually, because I do this, I'm not going to die. Because I do this, I'm not going to die. Because I do this, I'm going to be less sick. Because I have this on me, I'm going to feel better. Because of this, I'm going to form the relationships that I need to cope. You know, probably actually, this type of insurance is probably the most expensive. This, I'll need, because I haven't done this properly, and because lots of reasons, I will need over, I'll need another, at the moment it's £1,000, then the next work is about 3,000 to 5,000, maybe 7, then the final work's about 10,000. Because what I've got on my front tooth is just temporary fillings. What a dentist would actually do would be to put dentures on, and if they're going to do that, they might as well do the front, because that's the permanent solution. This, every time this falls out, the NHS goes, we won't do it next time. They keep falling out, we're going to leave you with broken teeth, because as a child you fell on your face when pushed roller skating. And I do go private because, I'll be honest, some of the NHS dentistry work I have, I walk out the NHS dentist and it just comes off, because it is so poorly managed as part of someone's health. This, eating, the crowns, the fillings, the teeth, the hygienist, I would argue, are a relevant factor and are an aid or appliance. Without them, I'd be stuck like the people on the cancer ward on a liquid diet. That really hurt me actually. I was like, I'm eating the same thing as these people. Ice cream and protein shakes. They're about to die and they can't. I'm alive and able and serving you, but eating the same thing, because all the things that you can afford but I can't have, you can't have it. So I put loads of extra ice creams on all their shopping trolleys. I was like, yep. And they got really annoyed. They got really annoyed with me. They said, you can't keep giving them. I'm like, yes I can. Watch me, I'm going in the freezer and I'm going to take all the Jude's chocolate ice cream and give it to the kid with brain cancer. Why? Because Hughes lot is charging, it was a private hospital, Hughes lot is charging them like £100,000 and you're squirming over a 50p pot of ice cream. Do you want to make him feel better at the end of the day? It's not the chemo treatment or the surgery. It's not always the hugs. Having an extra tub of ice cream, not because I've given it to him, because I was a noisy klutz. Do you know what? I've had this dopamine hit, I'm not gonna lie. So out of all of that, when someone is disabled and can't do a load of shit, but all of a sudden you go like, here, have some ice cream. Or here, we're going to go skydiving. True story. I looked at what people could do in a wheelchair with dementia. I looked at what people could do with the children who were dying from incurable diseases, people like Cameron McIntosh. And with the aid of charities with the aid of the right organisations, it's pretty much anything. Make-A-Wish Foundation, take terminally sick children to see Father Christmas. People who were born without legs run and sprint faster than many normal people. People who have lost control or have partial disabilities in half of their body go to a gym and exercise the half that they can. A barrister with cerebral palsy works as a manager in the civil service now and went on a date using Grindr and got drunk. But he didn't invite me home, slag. I would. A hard of hearing man redecorated an entire co-op store in Halloween, probably the best decorated in the country. A man who was deaf went to Brighton gay sauna and did not realise how much sound he made when he was enjoying himself. I'll take that as a compliment. Freddie Mercury died. Alexander McQueen committed suicide, or Lee McQueen. Britney Spears had an IUD implanted and had a parent agreement because of this and because of lithium. Yeah. This point scoring is outrageous. Trying to describe someone who can't dress, eat. The regulation itself needs aid or appliance. It is a needs-based assessment. But asking someone how they cook, clean, is degrading. But do you know what? You can make it fabulous, all you peeps in wheelchairs. Go for brunch and get drunk. How many points is that? 8 points. And actually, if you're homeless and you don't have any of this and need it all, you probably qualify for PIP if you have any health condition that requires treatment. I'm saying a house is an aid or appliance to me now. I put it in my court instructions. Because if I'm in a cardboard box or sleeping bag on the street, the very first thing I need is clothes. Regular change of clothes. I used to give out socks, underwear, knickers, sanitary products, health advice in a homeless centre. Because the first thing someone probably wants to do when they arrive there is have a cup of tea, have some breakfast, go and have a shower, a shave, change of clothes, pick out something warm for the night. Because some people were sleeping under tarpaulin, under DLR stations, applying for jobs at pizza places. I'm not going to name a shame. That was an EU national. He wanted to work. He wasn't here for benefits. He just wanted a job. And he wanted a job so badly that he'd move halfway across the continent and live under a blue tarpaulin sheet. I met a man from Yemen who was my taxi driver one night, and he told me how he wanted his family to be with him and how he lived in a one-bedroom apartment or one-bedroom studio, which basically had a wash basin and a bed. And he would work all the hours under the sun to send money back to his daughters who wanted to become doctors. I mean, he was not disabled, but he wanted, that's a different discussion, he wanted to work. So I gave him a big tip. Because it's actually more efficient for me to use Uber rather than pay £1 billion in insurance and own a car. And so you go off peak, not when there's surge on. That way I have a full flexibility of a public transport system, a bike, a bus, taxi, multiple taxi apps, all controlled through my phone, all planned. And I can go, today I feel really vulnerable or really shit, so I need to get a taxi. Or I've got a lot of stuff. It costs £50 to move 3 suitcases from one location to the next. Living in temporary accommodation without a long-term solution, relying on day by day, is really expensive. And things get lost. I've been through 2 sets of clothes, 2 sets of wardrobes, 2 sets of pharmaceuticals. Sometimes you have to leave it behind, you get kicked out. Places won't keep stuff overnight. They want to put it in the bin. A rucksack has become like the perfect rucksack. I'm trying to work out if it's an army one or not. But I found like a rectangular square one that's quite shallow but deep with multiple pockets. It's a really good answer. I know it's a Puma one. What it needs is a few more pockets on the outside, so I can carry like a water bottle. You know, something such as a locker is transformational, because all of a sudden I can put all of my sports nutrition and supplements in there, and all my wash kit in there. But I could actually, Ada appliance, I couldn't take a shower in my own home. I had to go half an hour on public transport to the nearest gym. Actually, I couldn't afford the water bill, so to help Thames Water avoid drought, I went to the community centre. I went to the gym, which was £20 a month, which I worked out was cheaper than running the water in my house. Because when I was budgeting and living to someone else's budget, I was going, what bills can I not pay? Okay, I can't pay water, so I'll stop using it. Okay, I can't use gas or electric, I'll turn it off. Okay, I can afford a little bit of electricity, about 2 kilowatts a day. I'll have a routine on Alexa, controlled via the internet, to basically budget how much electricity I use. Okay, my oven is the problem, so I'll stop using my oven and use my microwave and halogen oven. Ada appliances. Literally, your requirements as a human is to eat and drink. Those are the first things and instincts you have. Above that, everything else is optional, and where austerity has led us, this kind of point scoring system, I would say stop paying your bills, stop and focus on that eating and drinking. Focus on the £9.65 prescription fee. But actually, the legal fight I've ended up in has prioritised everyone else's rights above my nutritional requirements, or food, or treatment, or care. Because stuff like this, so some of these allergy medications, the antihistamines, like even sanitary towels, even the Imodium, even special types of baby milk, used to be available via the NHS, but to save something like 420 million, there's a list of things that are no longer available, but you can twist an arm with your pharmacist or your GP to say, actually, I can't, please can you give it to me for free? All those things need to change. If anything, I'd rather have a monthly subscription with my pharmacist, like £3 a month, than a per item fee. And if it's £3 a month, I'd rather pay that in VAT. Or through national insurance, or through tax, or through air passenger duty, or through including chocolate coated biscuits in the VAT charges or whatever it is. Why? Because no one sat there and went, wait a minute. You know, stuff like the drugs in the NHS, it's so cost controlled already, like this switch. It's so good, well cost controlled that other countries ask for our price lists. Even America wants to do it. It's such a powerful bargaining tool to basically have a semi-private pricing list. Because actually everyone argues about NICE, but NICE just really worries about the branded stuff. And the £9.65 is often more expensive than the drug that's being prescribed. And that's true. Like, you know, I'm trying to go for DoxyPep. And that like cost £1. And some of these, you know, this prescription is really cheap to dispense. A pharmacist, once it's been approved by a doctor, could probably do this regularly. Probably the same with this one. Like, if I were to reverse the model, if I was having a problem with this, the first person that I'd probably speak to is my pharmacist. And then my pharmacist would decide if I needed to talk to a GP or not. I fill in forms for this, which basically are the GAD-SAD scale. And that is data that tells someone whether things are getting better or worse. Same for this. So imagine having an NHS app where I basically was logging regularly, semi-regularly, when I was worried, changes in symptoms. And that data being available to the patient and the doctor, so they go, well, 2 weeks ago, I did have blood in my stool. I need to actually look at it again ahead of Monday. You know, like those online tests that you do and it says like, you've got cancer, and it's not actually that. That's really useful data. That self-assessment, like most medicine is self-assessment. It's when the symptoms are worrying or persistent that you get a doctor involved who then looks at all of your risks, all of the guidance, all of their learnings, all of the pathways available, and initiates the process. Or goes, no, you don't need some antibiotics for a sore throat. Actually, a cough syrup is the worst thing to take with a cough. And it's all allied, do you know what I mean? I love it when the pharmacist's like, I want to jab you up. And actually there's other things like, you know, HPV, hepatitis, there are flu vaccines I'm meant to do regularly. Actually, I could walk into a pharmacist and do it. I mean, some of it I reckon I could do myself, just like... I don't know why I've gone on about pharmacy, it just kills. I guess what I'm trying to say is the supervision for this is extremely high, but it's actually all the other stuff that helps most. And that little orange bag, I need 3 times over. It's my first aid kit. It's interesting actually. I put some diazepam in there myself, but that one's really addictive. We're not allowed to prescribe it. I would say fluoxetine is anything that changes the reward or happiness pathways has the potential to be addictive. What it isn't is addictive as a pill in itself. It doesn't immediately trigger something. This does though. So it's an immediate release dopamine dispenser. And cheaper than nicotine, because it's not seen as pharmaceutical, it's just someone who put a bit of juice in a battery in a plastic case. So anyway, that's my argument, all done. 62 points. I don't know what that gets me. I'm done in an hour.